Everybody, welcome back to the Live Ultralight podcast powered by Outdoor Vitals. Today, we have a Behind the Designs episode, which means we have a new product releasing. And we have more than just a single new product that's releasing, but in this episode, we're going to specifically talk about one of those products, which is the Altura Dynamic Pant. So these are always fun episodes to do because it's years of effort and behind-the-scenes work, and then we finally get to talk about it to all of you guys. It's also episodes that you guys really interact with. So if you do want to interact with us, you can leave questions and comments on YouTube, and I think you can start to do that on Spotify. But let us know if you have questions. Happy to confront those head on, but you guys love these. We love to do them. It's fun to design product, obviously. It's fun to do the testing, but it's really fun to finally bring it out to market. So how are we doing today, Brigham?
Doing pretty good.
Surviving?
Yeah. Been busy, but it's good.
Yeah, it's a whirlwind before we launch products, and we actually kind of expedited the launch of this product because of, well, we just decided to put it on pre-sale for a few weeks while it's in transit. We had a few delays. We were really hoping to launch this around the 1st of August, and we had a couple delays. So to kind of help with that, we ended up putting it on pre-sale for a couple of weeks while it's in transit, which also just shifted timelines around a little bit. So it's been a crunch for sure. But as per the usual, let's just start by talking about what was the initial design concept? Why did we feel the need to design this product? Where did the original, ideas come from? And what were the hopes and dreams that this product would become by the time we finished designing this product? So with the Altura pants, obviously we've designed a pair of pants in the past. The Sawtooth pants, they've done extremely well. That was back when we were launching products on Kickstarter. They were the highest funded technical pant on Kickstarter. They've been a great seller for us for the last, really, I think 5 years is how long we've sold those pants now, which is crazy. So we were due for another pant and a slightly different direction. We do plan to continue to sell the Sawtooth pants. We are going to refresh those within the next, let's call it year, hopefully. But we plan to keep them both because there are significant differences in what they do and how they function and things like that. So when we were deciding to start a new pant, where did the original idea to start it come from, and what were we hoping it would accomplish?
It's kind of fun to think of. I would imagine maybe it'd be interesting to the audience because the backstory kind of goes back to just kind of how we, in my mind, how we develop products, and a lot of times we do a lot of our own testing, and we spend a lot of time in the mountains and out and about in the far reaches of the wilderness or whatever. But we also, over the years, we, when we're developing something, we'll have prototypes that we'll send out to people that we know how they use things, the way they use things, and get their opinion or, feedback on prototypes. And so in this particular case, there's some guys that they're in the hunting industry, and they have a business there, but they're very, I'd call them ultralight backpacker hunters. Mm-hmm. But they're and so we've sent things like 40th tents when they were under development to get feedback because we know they get a lot of use. Like when we send things to these guys, we know they'll get a lot of use, and so things like the Nebo, lots of pieces that we sent to them to get their testing and feedback on, and so.
And look, I want to add in here really quick. These are people that also design products, and so they have an eye for design.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So because of that, me and Brigham trust them to give us really quality feedback and things like that. Because trust us, we get a million emails, comments saying we'll test product for you, or we have this idea. Yeah. When you start designing product and releasing product and all of that, those people are really valuable to us. So we've kind of nurtured that along and sent the product over the years.
Yeah, and it's a really good point because we're calculated and very deliberate about who we want to get feedback from and who we send product to, and it's a totally good point. But so in this case, the owner of that company just reached out to us and just kind of pitched an idea of a pant that maybe they could contribute some of their thought process on and their kind of their wish list or what they would like to see in a pant. And it just made a lot of sense because there's so much the requirements that those guys would need in a pant very much overlap with a lot of what we or just the general backpacker that's not just backpacking in beautiful summer weather that they would need as well. For people that just spend time in shoulder season or the winter or find themselves above tree line a lot where the weather can go from like nice summer conditions to snow like in a matter of 8 hours, and so
for like 8 minutes sometimes.
It just made so it just made a lot of sense, and to kind of look at the project, look at this development that way, and at the same time it was like it would be fun to kind of collaborate on the design process with some people that we know spend a lot of time in the mountains and have a kind of that mind for product design.
Yeah, I would classify them, whether you're a hunter or not, these guys are mountain athletes. And that's what we love to do. We love to be high up in the mountains. We love to be above tree line. We love to be in those wilderness extreme areas. And so like it makes a ton of sense for us to work with them. Plus they've got an exceptional company, and the way that they do R&D is going to be different than the way we do R&D. And so it was an opportunity too for us to just learn, different ways, and them learn from us learn from them, because we do have similarities in our businesses and we have differences in our business. But the thing that also brought us together is we share a lot of the same concepts of these are family-owned businesses. These are not venture-backed companies. They're both me and Steve, the owner of this company, we want to own these businesses our whole lives. Like we have no anticipation of selling off or changing values in the companies. And so there's just things like that too that we really resonate, and that's part of what's made us friends. But these guys are mountain athletes. These are the guys that me and Brigham have gone and done, the R3 and R5 attempts with them, hikes. The Grand Canyon hikes, and they're beasts. But they get out there. They're in Alaska weeks out of the year. They're in Montana, Idaho, all over, the Western United States. And so it was a good opportunity for sure. But so they came to us, they had some ideas for this line, and really for us, we're like, it made sense to call this internally our Alpine line. We were like, this is really the line built for high mountains, for backcountry, for not summer backpacking on trails all the time. And so we kind of just started a few pieces, but today we'll talk about the pants under this concept of kind of like an Alpine line, a mountain pursuit line, because there is a ton of our audience base that goes and does that.
Yeah, it's like it was a really good like kind of packaging and formulation of some concepts that kind of the summertime backpacking on trails is there's a lot of forgiveness in that. Like there's a lot of margin for error. You know what I mean? But we certainly don't just backpack for 3 months a year. In fact, I don't really like backpacking in July because there's so many mosquitoes. So like there's just so much time spent where we're off a trail or the conditions are such that our clothing choices are way more important, and what we protect our bodies with plays a much bigger role in our performance and our safety and our comfort in the mountains. So
yeah, actually, as you said that earlier, it reminded me of this scenario. And this was like 15 years ago, but I remember I was out on this mountain and I was laying on this rock and I fell asleep and I got sunburnt, and I wake up like sweating and like like way overheating. Mm-hmm. And literally within 30 minutes, we had a blizzard. It dropped 6 inches of snow. Like just that fast, the mountains can change. And, summer gear is not necessarily gear that's ready for shoulder seasons in the mountains. And I think that's where these pieces are really going to stand out, is whether it's seasonality or whether it's the type of trail you're on. Because if you go hike the Colorado Trail like we just got off of, it's a beautiful trail. It's maintained. It's pretty. But you go back up, like we as a company went and did a trail a year and change ago, And guys literally left that trail with scars on their bodies because the trail was so overgrown, so harsh, so bad.
Yeah.
So you never know, right? There's different tools for different trails, for different adventures, for all of it, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of some of the premise. We feel like there's this need for this mountain pursuit line, which is what we now call it. And one of those pieces was a pant. So in this pant, what was the premise of what did this pant need to be? What did we need to change? What were we hoping it could become?
Yeah, kind of the general concept was like a pretty simple, functional, streamlined pant that's just comfortable and just works really well. That is on the lighter weight side versus like heavier weight. And a lot of that is just because I guess we felt like there's a need for that in terms of just something light, really unrestricting, and that really lends to mobility and comfort. But that wasn't like a complicated pant. So simple and streamlined were big parts of the original design intent or the concept of the pant.
I've also, like, on the lightweight side, we're a big believer in layers. And the problem is if you overbuild something, it's always overbuilt, but you can always add layers underneath another piece or on top of another piece. And so we try not to like overbuild a single layer of anything. And so this lightweight pant, it really gives you the ability to use it in hot conditions, but also there's no doubt I'll be using it this winter. We tested it throughout winter, multiple winters. So that's just something to note in our philosophy too of design. I feel like if you go too heavy, too thick, too whatever, like on fabrics or choices there, you can't undo those. Versus with a lighter piece, you can always layer and adapt a piece to different conditions. So lightweight, mobile was a big thing. Yeah. Wanted to make them really comfortable and mobile. Durability is definitely on the list. We wanted these pieces to be durable for guys that are backpacking in those seasons. Conditions are harsher. You want to be able to go off trail or do some climbing. If you're into peak summiting and stuff, this pant needed to be able to do that. So you need to be able to like really move in the pant, but also have the durability to bump up against a rock or go through some bushes from time to time.
Yeah. I think like on the mobility thing, it may seem like not that significant of a goal, but if you think about how trails are built and maintained, they're if it's like national forest in the U.S. national forest land, they are made to a standard, and there's a standard for like the steepness that a trail can be. So essentially, trail walking is about the most mild form of mountain travel that exists. So as soon as you step off the trail, all those built-in requirements of basically how mild the walking is going to be go out the window. And so that's why mobility for, a high mountain pant for, mountain pursuits or off-trail pursuits, that's why mobility is a significant factor, is because you cannot count on, just having a nice graded trail that's got switchbacks built in. Like there's a strong likelihood you're going to be kind of clambering up and over rocks, traversing very steep terrain, walking over blow down trees, and so like that mobility it's a pretty important component.
Yeah, and to go from like a typical pant to a pair of shorts, like man, that mobility is super noticeable, and so that's kind of what we're talking about. Is like, could we build a pair of pants though that makes you feel as mobile as if you were wearing a pair of shorts or joggers or something in those categories, not like you think about a typical pair of pants. So mobility was high on the list, lightweight. With the sawtooth pants, we really built those to also kind of, essentially look good, to be able to, whether it's travel, daily wear them, but also perform in the mountains. They were kind of walking a line there. Whereas with these pants, we just made, the choice that these are mountain pants. And so we didn't, hide the zippers on the side and some of these features. They're just more prominent. We volumized some things a little bit different. We cut them a little bit different. Mm-hmm. Versus like I say, on the sawtooths, they're going to have a little bit more of a cleaner look. in terms of just when you're dealing with some of the features that are built into both of these pants. So that's definitely a part of it. Anything else to note about some of the hopes for the design of the pant? I mean, we had a strong baseline with the pant that we already had, and so there's things we really liked from those that we would planned and did keep in the DNA of this pant, or similarities, different versions of doing them, but similarities. Anything else, I guess, with the initial design intent? Like, is there like a specific thing that you think of when you're like, okay, if this pant is like works here, then we've accomplished it. Like, we've done what we wanted to do.
I mean, I don't have too much else to add just in terms of the original intent. But I think we kind of covered it.
Yeah, for me, I guess when I thought about these pants, I was like, okay, these are the pants I'm going to want to take when I'm doing off-trail hiking, hiking on trails that I know are, more covered or more brushy. The pants I want to be taking in, 3 and 4 season conditions, or if I was, summiting some kind of really exposed peak. Like, those are kind of some of the overall, like, okay, this is the piece and where it fits into our line, where I want to be using it. So, okay, so like, where do you start with the design process? What's the very first thing that you start to look at?
Fabric is a big one. I mean, especially when testing, if you're trying to test the functionality of a pant, like, it does not do much good to like go and field test a pair of pants if the fabric that it's made out of is not like a contender or in the running or a realistic option. Meaning, sometimes we'll get prototypes made of things that we have to use like a substitute fabric, and sometimes that's okay. But with the pant, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't really work to design how the pant is supposed to fit, create all the measurements, and then we get a pattern to make that pant fit a certain way, and then use a substitute fabric. So we actually had to we really had to kind of access and identify fabrics pretty quick so that we could actually know what they feel like to take into the mountains. I mean, because a pocket's a pocket and it'll hold things or whatever. But it's kind of it would be very wasteful in time to just go out using substitute fabric. So fabric selection was like an immediate thing to start looking for fabric, and then the basic layout of the pant. What pockets do we want there? What pockets don't we want there? Or how many? Or what type of pockets? Or
so let's stick with fabric for a minute. What were we looking for? I mean, I know we wanted it to be lightweight.
We
wanted it to be stretch. We wanted it to be. We were leaning towards a nylon-based fabric for durability purposes.
Yeah.
And we broadened our horizon, I would say, in fabric. I mean, we got more fabrics from more suppliers than in a lot of other cases. I mean, we just had suppliers that we had never worked with, new ones, new contacts. We got a broad selection, but in general, we were looking for something that had 4-way stretch.
Yeah, 4-way stretch nylon that was, on the lighter weight side of things. I mean, we already mentioned versus heavier weight, so we wanted them to be light, 4-way stretch, and in terms of fabric, I mean, those and nylon, like, those were kind of the things we were looking for, and then like there's a pile of options, within those parameters, and so a lot of getting things in our hands and seeing how they feel in person before even turning them into a pair of pants, and I mean, we got a lot of.
There were some great options too that we could honestly come back to those fabrics for different projects, because they were, like, thinking back about some of those, there were some really cool ones that we came across and tested and put our hands on. Yeah. Okay, so that was kind of the hope there: lightweight, durable, stretchy, 4-way stretch. Yep. We were trying to keep nylon as the major thing. We were okay with a little bit of spandex. We didn't want it to exceed 10%. I think was kind of the goal there, and for the most part. to meet the parameters that we wanted.
Yeah.
So then we start, testing those. But in the meantime, there's a lot of I don't want to call them minor tweaks and adjustments, but there's a lot of changes we wanted to make off of our original design pattern that kind of, in my mind, it's like a lot of little things become big things in this pant. So maybe walk us through some of the changes in this pant and what we're tweaking for it.
Like from sample to sample?
Or even from kind of if they've maybe got an experience with our sawtooth pants or something.
Well, okay, if you're talking, going from, looking at a sawtooth pant and this pant, I mean, if we go back to mobility and then also the original design intent. So this pant has it's a dedicated backcountry pant. So versus where we have a sawtooth pant that is really trying to be a pant in two worlds, home or city, urban, office, but be capable and do well in hiking, backpacking, right? Well, with that changes what that pant can be, right? So you have to give consideration to some things, regarding city life and how the pants fit and look and aesthetics, versus when you have a dedicated backcountry pant, you don't give any of those considerations. And so that now when we looked at, well, what does that mean? Well, that means they're going to fit different because we're not trying to be on both sides of the line between saying that this is a pant, that you can go to dinner, with, or something, a social, versus this is just a pant built to take to the backcountry. So it's going to fit differently, especially when we prioritize mobility the way that we do with this pant. It, again, is going to fit differently. So there's going to be basically more room throughout the entire pant, but then there's also other design features built in to further add or contribute to mobility. So with the Altura Dynamic Pant, we put in articulated knees. So that includes these knee darts that build volume in the front of the knee, and they slightly pre-bend the knee, so that, again, combined with four-way stretch, that really adds to a ton of range of motion and lack of restriction, versus a pant that you want to be able to take to dinner. We don't necessarily want to have 4 knee darts in a pant that's made to be city / backcountry, right? So things like that definitely are design elements that we could include with the pant, and it was the obvious choice. So
there's more volume in them. We darted the knees.
Articulated knees. Still has a gusseted crotch. It's a different pattern. It's a different shape gusseted crotch than the sawtooth pants. And again, whereas the sawtooth pants, we kind of wanted to keep a lot of things invisible or not visible, whereas with the Altura pant, we can design the gusseted crotch just with a focus on comfort, lack of restriction, and so that allows us to almost make it more overt or visible, or not try to hide it or make it invisible. And so things like that really they play into it.
Something that kind of is a part of the fit as well is we wanted to have an adjustable built-in belt, specifically for backpacking when you are using a backpack waist belt. Putting on another belt, it feels like it's dang near impossible to get a belt that works and doesn't start pinching skin, fabric, just the overlapping nature of them. Is really a challenge. And maybe it's because it's going through a few loops around the pant instead of built into the pant. But we really love the built-in belts. So we kept the built-in belt. We switched to a cam lock tensioner, so there's no way for it to slip, essentially. Yeah. I never really got slipping on the sawtooths, but these fully lock it in. It's a lock.
Yeah, it locks it.
Mm-hmm. And so that works really well for backpacking. And let's face it, when we go out on a 7-day trip, we lose 5 pounds,
Well, you also eat. You eat. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, if you go from breakfast to lunch, there's a 20-degree temperature swing. So you could be, starting off basically having fasted for several hours because you were asleep, and you start the hike, and then you eat a little tiny breakfast. But then when you eat lunch, like my lunches are pretty sizable, and so even that alone, like it's useful to be able to loosen up the waistband just a little bit. And then as the day goes on, or as the days go on, and you do lose a little bit of weight, then tightening it up a little bit. It's certainly handy, and it definitely is a good way to go to avoid any of those pinch points and hot spots under a hip belt. So,
okay. What are some of the other design aspects of the pant that we wanted to?
Well, I mean, hip vents was one of there was kind of like some definitely mandatory design features, like the adjustable waist. Hip vents was one, and that's another one where, because this is a dedicated mountain pant, we didn't need to bother trying to dial in a zipper, what's called like an invisible or a hidden zipper. We can just use an overt, zipper on the hip vent that we're not trying to hide or conceal,
which has benefits.
Which has benefits. It's actually a more durable zipper itself. It's stronger. It's easier. It's smoother up and down. So yeah, a lot of those things like are definitely part of it, and so that's what we did. And then so the hip vents. I mean, those are we did use a very, like, the mesh that we use for the hip vent it's very breathable. It's not like a dense mesh.
Very open.
Because we didn't really want to go with just no mesh backer. Just too many times where bugs is an issue. So we definitely wanted to have mesh behind the zipper, but as much breathability as possible. So it's a really good mesh that definitely allows for a lot of airflow.
Okay, and then pocketing.
So pocketing, for this one, it was like one of the wants, or kind of, not, I guess you'd call it requirement, but we did decide that we wanted to just have one cargo pocket, which that is similar to the Sawtooth pant, but again, we can add, because of this pant's kind of use case and application, we can add a little bit of volume to that. It's a little bit bigger. The opening's a little bit bigger, so there's a little bit more exposed zipper. So it's easier to get in and out of. So it's just kind of slightly more usable and more functional in the mountains. So
you added an internal phone sleeve in mesh on the inside of the pocket, and the cargo pocket. There's an internal, like, we call it a phone mesh pocket.
Yeah.
That thing's money. Like, when you get obviously when you have a cargo pocket, things can slip around and move all over in them, and especially as we've volumized this one, made it a little bit bigger, it's even more easy for things to slip around, move around.
Yeah.
And that little pocket is awesome. Like, it doesn't really add anything because it's built out of mesh on top of mesh. Mm-hmm. But it's a super handy little feature to be able to slide your phone in there. I like it too. Like, if you're sitting in camp or something like that, it's much easier to pull your phone in and out of that pocket versus an upper pocket. If you're a sportsman and you're up, on a ridge glassing, stuff like that, having that pocket is super useful. So really enjoy that. So that's the cargo pocket.
Yeah.
2 hand pockets.
2 hand pockets in the front, 2 back pockets. And I'm not really a fan, not that that's the ultimate decision, but like I don't think any of us really wanted zippered back pockets. There's like an overlap, and it works really well. It's like a passive retention, and it does, if you're somebody that likes to keep stuff in your back pockets, I mean, it keeps them from falling out, but it also makes it quick and easy to get in and out of the pocket without adding, potential bulk or those kind of potential discomfort that is added by putting zippers back there. So
super secure. Actually, because I wear our Sawtooth pants so much, like, I daily wear those things all the time, and so I'll put a wallet back there, and they have a similar closure on the top, and I've just never lost anything out of them. And then I bought a pair of jeans recently, and I was wearing them, and my wallet fell out, and I was like, "What is this? Why did I haven't had anything fall out of my pocket in 5 years." It was like surprising. So I think that is a super valuable ad. But also the one other thing is when you are designing a mountain pant, you sit in the dirt. You can collect dirt inside the pocket. Yeah. Or debris or even leaves and stuff. So I like it for both keeping stuff out, but also keeping stuff in.
Yeah.
But overall, that's a very simple design. We didn't run double cargo pockets. It's a single cargo pocket and then just 2 hand pockets, 2 back pockets. We didn't add a bunch more zippers and awkward pockets. And I feel like that's all the rage lately. I've been buying and I bought a couple new pair of shorts and things lately, and I'm like, what is this side zipper pocket like that? I'm like literally thinking like, what could I even put in there? It is like 3 inches at the top, 1 inch at the bottom. I'm like, is this like a pen pocket? Like, am I walking around with a pen now? I don't know. There's interesting things like that I think are trendy right now. We wanted to keep this pant very simple, very functional, because obviously the more complicated you make a pant too, the more you have stuff that doesn't work, but also more so like you add weight, you add complexity, you add costs, which, the goal of this pant was to make it a very affordable pant for the mountains. So
yeah, you can go into a rabbit hole when talking about just design intent and the choices that revolve around design intent. I mean, because anybody can really make anything, you know what I mean? And it's all just about what's the intent, what's it for, and who's it for. Because we don't make everything for everybody, and nobody does or nobody can. So it's
totally.
And it just so happens that that's this design intent, and we see a need for it. We see that there's a use case for it, and when you mentioned that we wanted them to be on the more affordable side for a technical mountain pant. That does play into certain decisions, and it's almost a back and forth. The way they're designed just naturally reduces some cost, but we also did not want to just add a bunch of stuff because that would just add cost, and the cost benefit, is in this case is just it's not something worth it for us. So
yeah. So I think we've covered a lot of the features. Let's kind of get into some of the testing, prototyping, and just how that process went along with these. To my recollection, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you get to put more of your brain energy into just this side of work, but looked at a lot of fabrics. We made some choices, and I think we got pants in 3 different fabrics is kind of what we, after putting our hands on a bunch of them, I think we started with about 3-ish to begin with.
Yeah.
And we made a handful of those, maybe for 4 of us initially to start running some field time in. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, pretty sure.
This is years in the making. This is basically a 3-year project.
2 or 3 years ago. Yeah. So we got first prototypes made, and the nice thing was that they were very usable, with the first prototype. So which was good, because that meant that we could immediately actually give a valid evaluation of fabrics or pockets or pocket angles or the function, how they fit and how they function. The first couple iterations, I was trying a kind of a different adjustable waistband arrangement than we have now that we ended up with, because I wanted to try it and see if it was viable. And we tried it, and that's not what we ended up with, and that is because we were able to get pants made, prototypes made, test them, and get multiple opinions, and do that a couple times, but with a lot of testing, a lot of days spent testing, and so But for the most part, I mean, we started out pretty good in terms of like, okay, like we're not everything from now on, you know, from then on was we're going to do small adjustments here and there to how it fits and to maybe different features.
I think something really interesting about that is when we got those initial ones back, and between us and some of the other guys testing these, there was some conversation of like, man, these are like 80, 90% there already. Like we could almost just roll with these. But obviously we wanted to do our due diligence in the field with durability testing and things like that. And what I find interesting, I guess, with this is that like we got those years ago and it took us this much time to dial in that last 10, 15, 20% of the pant. And I think that's like, I like that. We're to a point in our company where we can spend 2-3 years dialing in the last 10, 20% of a product to try to truly make it as perfect as possible. Because, I just remember like that as we were talking about that, I just remember hearing from, I think it was Steve from EXO that was like, dude, these are like almost there. Like you hit like this first round is amazing, you know?
Yeah.
But then we still spent basically 2 more years.
Yeah.
Iterating, testing, perfecting.
Yeah. That like it is that last 10 to 20% that is the most, it's the most challenging, but it's also the most fun or enjoyable part about developing a product and really getting it where you want to be is because you really start to have to pay attention to finer detail and ask more questions of people, ask more questions of ourselves. And part of that was like one of the initial comments was that they were so comfortable. But I felt like we had to do some due diligence in that, like, okay, but is this fabric too light? So we kind of basically just kind of had to prove and then disprove the idea that, okay, well, let's make them with slightly heavier fabric and just see how we like it. And we did that as we were making other adjustments and tweaks. But like just to really ask that question of like, okay, we seem like we really like this fabric weight or kind of this general weight range and fabric range, but let's just make sure that it's not the right thing to do to go with something slightly heavier. So we did that as well. And then along the way, made minor tweaks to fit, minor tweaks to just all the little features and placements. And then,
I think we learned a little bit with some of that fabric testing, thinking we didn't have any durability issues, but maybe there's things that made us almost a little uncomfortable because they were so light.
There's some fabrics that were so thin that you have to give consideration to that. As we are going to ship somebody a product, they're going to take it out of a package with kind of this understanding of what we told them about the pants, and then they're going to put their hands on it before they even put it on their body. Like they're going to get a feel, and we wanted to make sure that that the people ordering these pants weren't going to just take them out of the package and just feel it and say, "There's no way I'm taking these to XYZ place," because it feels so thin. Because there were some of those fabrics that we were, a little concerned about. Even though they had like dozens of days of like very rough testing without any like rips, tears, cuts, or anything where people, like we even got feedback from people that did some of the testing that they had those same thoughts of like, man, do I really want to take these to Alaska for 10 days? And they did, and they were fine. But that is a thing. Like it's something that we have to consider is just that first perception of how something feels, because we don't want somebody to like have to prove to themselves that the thing they bought from us actually does work. We want them to almost just be confident from the get-go. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like they pick it up, they handle it, and be like, okay, yeah, this feels good.
Yeah. In fact, one of the funny stories along that. So we kind of like did these initial ones, and we tested some things, and then we did some iterations, And we got to a stage where we're like, okay, we're going to test it in a bigger R&D group where we had about 20 guys. And we shipped these pants to the 20 guys. And one of the guys, that was, that little conversation you just had, where he's like, I don't think I dare take these to Alaska. These are like pajamas. Like I put them on, I feel like I'm wearing backcountry pajamas because they're so mobile, so light, so it's easy to move in and things like that. But yet he was able to take them to Alaska, run them in Montana, and just never had any issues. But it was like a real thing. And what I am happy to say is that concept of like backcountry pajamas, like that level of comfort, mobility, stretch, movement, I do feel like we nailed that in the finished product, even though we continued to iterate on fabrics even from there. But yeah, I mean, you may see us occasionally like just jokingly call them backcountry pajamas because the mobility is just so exceptional. I never felt like the Sawtooth pants weren't mobile, but compared to these, it's a different ballgame. Sawtooth pants are a two-way stretch versus a four-way stretch, and then the way that these are built, cut, fit, absolutely incredible movement. Like you could do yoga in these things. You could do lots of things like climbing up and over logs, climbing up faces on ridges, just whatever it is, you're going to have plenty of mobility in them. The fabric though is a big part of that. So test a lot of fabrics, and we ran it. So we kind of initially ran it on a smaller group of us, and then we did broaden that out, and we got a ton of field time in this.
Tons, yeah. I mean, it was. I have it written down just because I get a lot of guys texting me, calling me, emailing back, and just saying, yeah, I did this, took it here, did this, and then I did. Everyone kind of filled out a questionnaire kind of at the end of that testing period. But ballpark figures, like I added up people's days in the field at like, for example, just in Alaska, it was like 75 days of field testing in Alaska, and combining all the rest of the time, it was like 265 actual field day, like staying out in the field, days of testing between all of us and that testing group. So it was great. It was a great process.
Yeah. And I think it was awesome to do that for us too, because we don't typically have quite that number of testers running them or that many days in the field. And I think we learned from that, and we'll continue to, utilize that however we possibly can.
Yeah, and I think it's important to like just include like the human factor of that is like that we built a lot of relationships, we made a lot of connections, made new friends that we feel like we can trust their opinion and their feedback, and just ton of value there. And it's almost like feels wrong to use the word value in terms of like making human connections or friend connections, but but it is true. Like from a development standpoint, like that aspect was great.
Yeah, a lot of mountain athletes just out there running them, and I mean it's valuable feedback when they're people that are really spending that much time and have that much field experience, and so it was really, really solid.
Yeah.
We at this point we're kind of getting more towards the finish line of the design, the R&D. We did continue to iterate on fabrics. Ended up, kind of continuing to move in a direction of, making sure these things are very durable. We wanted to go a little bit more with a little bit more pick resistance, peeling resistance, and things like that with the finished fabric. The finished fabric is a really cool fabric. I mean, lots of stretch, lots of play in it.
Very comfortable.
The outside has a nice feeling of a tighter weave, to keep it being pick resistant, peel resistant. The inside has a bit of a texture, which we like because obviously something like a texture against your skin, it's going to aid in things like with moisture and vapor, like being able to move out of the pant to help, not get that feeling of like a fabric being stuck to your skin.
Yeah, definitely helps with that.
It's just a really, really impressive fabric. I mean, any other specific fabric call outs, it ended up being a lower percentage of spandex than the 10%. So we really liked where that fit in there. 175, GSM, like weight grams per square meter. So really lightweight fabric, but just a really lightweight feel too. Because in fact, like if you were to compare the feel, like our Sawtooth pant is a similar weight to this, within like 10 GSM of the 175, but these do have the feel of being even lighter and like the hand feel, I guess, if you were to say that, or on the body.
Yeah.
So it's a really, really good feel. But any other kind of call outs on the finished fabric?
No, I'm happy with it. It ended, like I mentioned, we ended up testing a bunch of slightly heavier fabrics or different type of weave or construction, and then where we ended up was very close to like the very first fabric that we tested. I just think it's a little bit better than that. So it kind of came full circle, but it was necessary to take those steps. So yeah,
quick drying. We kind of went through a lot of the feature set. The feature set we just polished through iterations and really like where all of those landed. Quick, easy to use. Vents and cargo pockets, hand pockets. I like the cam lock tensioner because I do like the locking feature of it. I think the biggest thing with the locking feature that I really like is the fact that when I take the pant off and I put it on, it stays in the exact same place.
Yeah.
That's like when I'd see the most movement on something like the more Sawtooth pants, where it's just like
because if you get some looseness, just because it's not tightened up, then that looseness, it can potentially loosen the band.
I do like that because there are times when, like, let's say you take them off for the night, you put them back on the next morning. Sometimes you're kind of trying to dial in that fit right where you want it again.
Yeah.
Versus the cam lock, it's going to be the exact same as you left it. So that's something that I enjoyed. Some of the other aspects of this pant that we were kind of excited to change up in our line was the actual sizes that we offer.
Yeah, I was going to go into sizing and fit, or I think probably fit first, then sizing. And just to explain, I think people probably could kind of extrapolate how they're going to fit based on the comments we made about comparing it to the Sawtooth pant. But like, if you're not familiar with the Sawtooth pant, this is just a pant to you, right? The Altura Dynamic Pant. Well, by almost like design philosophy wise, like we want to avoid as much excess fabric as possible in anything that we make. It's just inefficient. It's a waste of materials, and it creates bulk. It creates flapping and drag in the wind. And so with that in mind, these pants, they're made for mobility and comfort. So we want them to have adequate room, from the top of the waistline to the bottom of to the leg opening, without just having a bunch of extra room anywhere on the pant. So I'd say they're a trim, streamlined fit, but there's just a little bit of room everywhere. That's how I would describe it. Some people will throw the word like athletic fitting around, and I'd say that might accomplish 80% of how I would describe the fit. But I would just say they're more like efficiently trim. So they're like a pretty even taper from like the middle of the thigh all the way to the leg opening. It's a taper. We didn't want a bunch of fabric in the calf or down by where the leg opening is, where it's going to go over your shoe or your boot. We want it to cover that, whatever that is, but without just being this big leg opening that's just going to brush up against the other leg opening when you're taking steps. All that extra fabric just gets in the way. And so that's how I would describe this, as like an efficiently trim pant that you've got a little bit of room to move, like in rugged terrain.
Yeah, it's like what I like about them is that I can layer them a little bit and not feel like they're getting tight on me too. So if I were to throw the Highline leggings under them, or even something heavier than that, they're not like shrinking around my calf or my thigh.
Yeah.
There's more adequate room there. So, but they are still very efficient. They're not. You don't have like a massive leg opening at the bottom that's catching on sticks and debris as you're passing and just things like that. They're not slapping against each other. Definitely on that athletic side more than a big open cargo straight-legged pant.
Yeah.
We also wanted to, like, I don't know why sizing has been done like this. I mean, I can guess why sizing has been done like this, but sizing historically is like you buy a 30 pant, 30 waist pant, or a 32, or a 34, or a 36. Well, let's face it, like that's a big jump to go from 32 to 34 or 34 to 36. And for a lot of, we deal with more guys, I guess you could say, in our business. And for a lot of us, we land between sizes. And so then we're always like buying a 32 or a 34 and then being like, okay, is this one going to fit or do I need to actually return this by the other one?
Yeah.
But either way, you're not always, if you're someone who just has a 33 waist, you're always a little bit dissatisfied with it.
It's just not optimized. It's definitely a thing, and it's kind of obnoxious, and it's something that we wanted to. I mean, again, like this sounds really cheesy, but if you want something to perform well, you want your how it fits to be as dialed into your individual body as possible. Now that's not possible for a brand to custom tailor every piece to everybody, but going in 1-inch size increments is a lot closer to that than 2. You know what I mean? And when you want a pant that's comfortable and built for mobility, for rugged terrain, we want people to have like the closest accurate fit as possible. So
well, then I would say in a pant it matters the most. Like if you're wearing something that is just full of spandex and has a ton of stretch and ton of forgiveness and it's supposed to be form fitting, you just put a lot of spandex in it and it works. If you have a top, like, you can have a top that's a little bit baggy and it doesn't like cause issues. But on a pant, especially on men who usually don't have like big butts and stuff like that to hold the pants up, a pant being a little bit big, it becomes very sloppy. It like starts
really
to actually lose function. It starts to slide down your body. It starts to, or you tighten up the waist with, say, our top tensioner, and then it's loose in the thigh. There's just different things that happen. And so to me, of anything that needs to fit right, pants and boots, pants and shoes are like the two, the ones that just, if you have the wrong size, it's gonna interfere. And so with this pant, and thankfully from the Sawtooth pant, we have so much more sizing info to be able to know like where sizes are. And the truth of it is, there is a massive, massive majority of people that land between a 32 and a 36 size pant. And so what we chose to do with these are to allow for some of these single-digit sizes. So our waist sizes are roughly, and that changes maybe a little bit depending on the inseam, they go 29, 30, 32, and then 33, 34, 35, 36. So from 32 to 36, we go in 1-inch increments. And that, I think that's going to really help a lot of guys out, because my whole life, even when I was heavier set years ago, I was like a 35. I wasn't a 36, and then now I'm a 33 and not a 34, and so that I think is going to be so helpful for people to really dial in that fit and get exactly what they want. Yeah. Along with that, we'll have 3 different inseams ranging from a 30-inch inseam, 32-inch inseam, and a 34-inch inseam. So you can also get those in the lengths that you need. So with that, I think you're really going to be able to dial in that fit and get exactly what you want. And that's just going to equate you liking and enjoying these pants that much more. Color-wise, we do have some colors. Why don't you run us through the colors?
Pants. We've got gray. We've got stone brown. Stone brown is kind of it's a play on words. The actual technical color from the color book that we get the color recipe from, it's called stone gray. But we have a gray pant, and the stone gray, you don't look at it and see gray. Yeah. We call it stone brown because it's a really cool color that really adapts to what's around it. So depending on what's around it, you may see more brown, you may see a little bit of green, kind of like, there's a lot of stones in the mountain that may have some moss on it or some lichen, and they're not necessarily brown, they're not necessarily green, and anyway, so that's stone brown. Yeah, kind of like a
Like what you put it next to, it seems to look like that.
yeah.
It's
So if
really
you put it next to
interesting.
something green, it's going to look more green. Put it next to something brown, it's going to look more brown. Cool color, but it's more in the stone brown, and then like a dark olive green is the third color.
Man, I think we covered it all. Just gonna quickly look. Oh, so like weight wise, the pant in a 30-inch inseam and a 30-inch waist is 11.9 ounces. So still very, very light. Definitely on the lighter side, I would say, of any pant out there. Yeah, I mean, I think we've wrapped up at least all the details that we need to cover. So
Yeah.
what I guess just kind of want to end on with this piece is it's a super enjoyable and comfortable pant to wear. I'm definitely excited to get it into your guys' hands. Obviously, we've been running it for years now, behind the scenes a little bit, and it's a workhorse of a pant that, I mean, if I was to like really talk about like what is so unique about this pant, I kind of can't get over the comfort of the pant. If it's hot conditions, you can really vent it, and the lightweight fabric feels really nice. In colder conditions, blocks the wind great. It holds up to brush and debris and rough trails very well. But man, like that mobility in this pant, I would just say this. I don't have another pair of pants that is as flexible and mobile as this pant. If I'm thinking about climbing through like a deadfall forest, fire came through and there's all this deadfall and I'm just going up and over logs. Like I do not have a pant that can move as well as this pant. Just really, really pleased with that. And then obviously the feature set, it's the right balance for me. I don't like to hike with stuff in my pockets, my cargo pocket especially. So the lack of not needing double cargo pockets or a bunch of extra, feature sets like that, I personally really enjoy. And then, I think we nailed the kind of the quick use features. The cam lock tensioner is really sleek, easy to use, locks it in place. The hip vents, a little faster, easier to use than the sawtooth ones, or like just quick pull, really quick to change the pant and to start venting. I'm stoked about the pant, and I think I think the first thing when they buy this pant is they're going to feel that fabric and just be like, this is interesting. Like I think you have to kind of try them on and see the fabric itself to understand what we mean by like how we could possibly call a pair of pants pajamas, It's really, really unique in that sense.
Yeah, they're definitely comfortable, and I'm happy with the fabric choice, and I mean, I wouldn't be at all surprised if a lot of people tell us that they just will sleep in them at night, because I have a lot of times. So you really don't give up much in comfort just to sleep in those if the temperatures and the conditions allow for it. So
there you have it. They're actually being used as pajamas. So
true.
But I mean, just a big shout out to everyone who helped us in the R&D process, the guys over at Exo Mountain Gear, everyone else that helped us in the R&D process. Definitely thankful for the feedback you guys had, for the inputs. I mean, it's one thing. I mean, everyone's excited to get to test things, but it is work. Like you have to, we still had to get feedback from you and rounds, and you have to be thinking while you're out there about the things that are working or not working. And we appreciate the help on this project. It's super fun to get it to the finish line. This, again, is one of 3 different products that are going to come out in this Mountain Pursuit line this fall. So there's the Altura pants. The next episode on this podcast is going to be about our Pursuit hybrid fleece, which you're definitely going to want to catch that episode, because that is a truly unique piece as well. It's going to be different, I would say, than almost anything you've seen out there. And then about a month down the line here, we're going to be talking about the release of a new really warm, puffy jacket, and some design aspects that we put into that to make it also quite one of its kind and utilize completely new fabrics and things. So excited about all three of these pieces. They will be releasing all this fall. But to start off, it's going to be the Altura pant and the Pursuit hybrid fleece. So, with that, super excited. This is always fun to get into the finish line. Can't wait to get these in your guys' hands. Again, if you're listening to this podcast around the time that it's released, these are going to be on pre-sale. And what that means is that we're pre-selling an air shipment of these units because we wanted to get them here as early as we possibly could this fall and let you guys get them out into the field. So we're actually going to air freight about half of the shipment early. And so these pre-sale units that are going to be selling are coming from that. So you're going to be able to get them quicker. We've seen really an unprecedented level of demand for these pieces. We're not sure exactly what pieces people are the most interested in just yet, but I can tell you this is the biggest email opt-in list size that we've had for a release of a product, including some of our Kickstarters, I believe. So we have thousands of people, on a list ready to be notified when these go live. And so I just wouldn't wait. If you're interested in getting these and you're interested in getting them soon, don't wait. We're not sure just how the stock is going to handle the demand yet. So just kind of want to throw that disclaimer out.
Tried to order more than we normally do.
We did order more, yeah.
Hope we have enough. We tried to order more, but there's been a lot of interest, so hope for the best.
We'll do our best to keep them in stock, but I would just say don't wait on it if you have interest in any of these products. So, okay, with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up this podcast. If you enjoyed this or you think you've got a buddy or someone who would be interested in these pants, go ahead and share this. That means the world to us, helps us share and get our message out, but it also just hopefully can help other people get out into the vital outdoors. If you haven't rated the podcast, please do so, and we'll see you guys in a future episode.